Hello, football fans. Welcome back to Hurdle the Line. This is the Week 10. Yes, you've heard it, Week 10 review show. I'm your host, Chapman, joined as always, Ollie and Tom. How are we this weekend, guys?
I'm good. I'm good.
Very good.
My basketball team's 11-0, and my football team didn't lose this weekend, so I'm very happy. Don't tell them they were on a bye week though.
I had a unique week from hell where I had the Bulldogs losing in Oxford to Old Miss,
Yes.
followed up by Arsenal tying Chelsea
Yep.
after being up 1-0 and also being robbed a goal in the first half. And then the Falcons losing to the
Yes.
Saints in New Orleans, a team that had lost seven straight. It was awesome. The only shining light is my MLS team, the Atlanta United, did defeat
Yes.
Messi
Yep.
and Miami, or internet. What is it? Their international. I forget their name. Anyway,
Into
Into
Miami.
Miami.
Enter Miami. Yes, in a three-game playoff series, so they'll be
Yep.
moving on. So that's
You
that's that's the
you were
only
the ninth.
positive.
You were the ninth seed, I believe, knocking out
We
the number
are.
one seed. They had the best regular season records. They obviously have Lionel Messi, not my goat. So yeah.
Yes, we are a scrappy team, so we'll see how far we get. But we're not talking here to talk about MLS.
No,
That's a
no, no.
that's a different AAW podcast.
Yes.
This is the NFL Week 10 review show. Um, I would say last week we were blessed with a lot of great games. This week it was slightly
Yeah.
more front loaded.
Yeah.
But we're going to go through all of them. We've kind of picked our favorite games of the week, which we are going to discuss first. Before we roll into it, there's not a lot of news. Luckily, there wasn't a ton of injuries this week, which is great. Except we
Mm.
obviously, before Sunday, found out that Dak Prescott would be having season-ending surgery. We always know it takes me a minute to get my mouth warmed up. Season-ending surgery, which pretty much dooms the Cowboys season, which already felt like it was
Already felt
halfway.
like it was doomed anyway. So
Yeah. So
yeah.
halfway in the grave already. They had one foot there anyway. I don't think there's anything else we want to cover. If we could,
Well,
so the
the only other one was I think it's well, we yet to hear the severity of the injury, but me and Ollie were talking about it yesterday. Alex Highsmith, for the Steelers, he came down. I think he stepped on Jaden Daniels' foot, but
No, he twisted it as he was kind of taking him down.
mm,
It didn't get caught up because that's what I initially thought. He must have obviously
yeah,
got
yeah,
caught
yeah.
up, but then on the replays, it just kind of as he planted his ankle, it
Mm,
obviously looked like it snapped.
mm.
But I think, as you said, Tom, we haven't heard the full severity, but what we have heard is I think he has avoided a break.
Oh, that's good at
Um,
least.
and from what I'm hearing and what like I've seen on Twitter and stuff, they were waiting an MRI, but they reckon it could only be 3 to 4 games. So
Oh wow.
that would
Okay.
obviously be a
That's best case scenario, isn't it?
massive
Based on
boost for
what
them
it looked
because
like.
he,
So.
as we said, he's so important on that defensive
Mm.
line.
well, if that's the case, I think we should just jump into the games.
Yep.
Now, I think the game of the week was played on Thursday, but
Yeah.
we're not gonna go to it first. We're gonna try to get some of these Sunday games, and then we'll definitely pick it up. So we can all agree on that. So my number one pick for the game was the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Washington Commanders. The Steelers sneak by and win 28-27 on a game-winning touchdown catch by brand new, just traded wide receiver Mike Williams. I feel like the Steelers are just anything they do is just paying off for them. And Mike Tomlin is quietly having one of his best coaching seasons of already a Hall of Fame, probably Hall of Fame career. This was an awesome game. What did you guys think?
Yeah, it was very back and forth, wasn't it? I mean, you had two offenses that, seemed to put it together. Russell Wilson, he had he kind of started off a bit slower and then kind of got into the game as it went on. And then obviously, yeah, that moon ball he threw to Mike Williams, who, after leaving the Jets, then scores a touchdown. So yeah, it would, and then obviously towards the end as well, it looked like the Commanders were gonna potentially have a chance to, with a minute or so left, to maybe kick a field goal or go down the field. But I know that Zach Ertz caught the ball, but they called it that they'd stopped them on fourth down, and it was a turnover on downs with the Steelers getting the ball, and that was the end of the game. But it was a really exciting game, though, very back and forth. As you said, there's a reason why it was game of the week. Lots of offense. Um, and yeah, what you wanted to see out of a weekend that wasn't, filled with A lot of amazing games.
I'm just so sick of it, man. Like they just seem to every year they just seem to get to 9 or 10 wins. I mean, they're what now? They got 7 wins already with 8 games left to play. They're going to get to 10 wins again. They're going to make the playoffs again. Mike Tomlin just always seems to make the playoffs, and it's going to be 17th consecutive season with a winning record. Just utterly insane. As much as I hate to say it, you've got to give them so much credit for that. It is impressive. This game, as you both said, was a really exciting game to watch. I mean, towards the end, it did get a little bit of like, oh, you go and win it. No, you go and win it. With both teams seeming like they didn't want to go and win this game. But then obviously the Steelers kind of took that final chance and went, okay, we'll go and win it then. And as you said, an utter moon ball to Mike Williams. It's good to see Russ throwing those deep balls. Not many people throw a prettier deep ball. So seeing that obviously to win the game. But I think a good game out of both teams. I don't think Washington should put their heads down. I don't think Jaden Daniels should put his head down. I still feel as good about them as I did before this game. I think they just came up against a good team. As much as I hate to say it, this Steelers team is a good team.
And the defense on the Steelers side is also won the 3 sacks yesterday, and they're looking really good. They really definitely, neither quarterback was, I would say bad, but neither was lights out. Wilson throwing for 3 touchdowns, but still only like 190 yards. And then kind of the flip side with Daniels getting about 200. I would say this Steelers team, though, compared to the last, like there's something about Tomlin having a lot of his arm tied behind his back and getting to 8 or 9 wins. Whereas this year, it really feels like literally everybody questioned them. They win those first 6 games. I believe it was, or at least first 5 or 6 games with Justin Fields, and they make this switch to Wilson, and it's paying off. I mean, they bring in Mike Williams, who was basically just sitting on the sideline for the Jets, and he, his first catch is a 32-yard touchdown to get the go ahead, the go ahead win there.
I mean, I bet he's really happy to be a Steeler now instead of a Jet. I mean, he's gone from one of the most losing organizations in the NFL to one of the most winningest organizations in the NFL with a winning culture. Maybe that's going to be what gives him what he needs to have a really good finish to the season and earn himself another contract.
Yeah, but as you said, Washington doesn't need to hang its head. It's still looking good. It's still a half game behind, I believe, in the division. In the NFC East. With that said, if I asked you, where do you think, and if you already know this, but if I were to ask you, where does Terry McLaurin sit in terms of receivers this year, stat wise? What number do you think he is in the top? Let's just say top 10. I'll go ahead and give you that.
As in yards, you mean?
In terms of receiving yards, yeah.
Yeah.
4th?
I'll go. Yeah, I'll go 3rd.
He is 3rd, right
Ooh.
behind Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. And I just say that because we've all had a lot. I've liked Terry McLaurin for years. I've had him on different fantasy teams, but he finally has a quarterback. Yeah, and he is playing like an all-pro, or at least close to it. So it's pretty impressive.
It's good to see.
It's good to see
him. It
is awesome
that he's played with. Finally get a quarterback that can actually throw the best receiver on the team the ball, as opposed to what seemed to have happened before that. But he's. I'm happy
for Scary Terry.
Definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a good game. If you haven't watched it, definitely worth checking out on Game Pass or just watching the highlights. And it's by the way, we didn't say that the game basically ended on that touchdown, and it was like in the last 30 seconds, I believe, with or at least the last minute with the Steelers. Oh no, it ended on the. It did end. Wait. It ended with so Washington got the ball back. Yeah. They have to go down and. Oh no! The Steelers got the ball back, and they got them to go offside.
No, you're right. So it was the Commanders got the ball back, and then they were kind of near midfield. But then I think it was 3rd and 4th and 9.
And he was. I would have liked to see more replays because obviously, as a Browns fan, I want the Steelers to lose every game. So I'm there going, that look. I think he got that, but obviously they deemed that he was short, and that was the game over.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, speaking of one thing, one of the things we forgot to do, guys, is talk about we were talking about fantasy and McLaurin. What I did forget is that we've got our sponsor, guys, Fantasy Game Day app. It's the only app that is from people in the UK for fantasy players to bet, and it's for players here in the UK. If you sign up for the app and you put in Hurdle, but without the U, HRDLE, Hurdle, let them know we sent you over there. They are our one and only Hurdle the Line sponsors as of right now. And we probably support them and play with them. So please go check it out if you haven't already. And we appreciate them. There's going to be links in the description. So just scroll down and wherever you're listening and you should get it. Also, we'll have links on our various socials as well. So Fantasy Game Day app, please check it out. So that was pretty much our first game of the week. And now I'm going to move to another. There was all the games that I thought were decent were all in that the first window, the early games on Sunday. This one was also quite a fun one to watch. I wish I could have had my eye on it just a little bit more, but it was Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco ekes out a win 23-20 after coming out of the bye. This is the debut of Christian McCaffrey, who finally plays after being out for the first 9 weeks. He comes in, finishes with 170 yards on 19 touches. Doesn't look any rusty at all from that injury. But I gotta say, everything I've heard today about this game has actually been more about Tampa Bay and the grittiness of Baker Mayfield to just not come down. This is a scary team. I'm really glad the Falcons, as obviously we are in the division, have already played them, beat them twice, and we don't have to worry about them. But honestly, the Falcons, from a wins perspective, needs to just keep carrying on because I don't think this Tampa Bay team's going away. But they are in the meat of their scary schedule. They played your team last week really, really well, right? It was a Monday night game,
Very
right?
close game, yeah.
And then they come same here, and just really breaking wins. But I don't know if you saw Nick Bosa trying to take down Baker Mayfield on that fourth down, and he gets the 9-yard reception. I forgot who caught it. What a play!
Rashad White.
Rashad White.
He did it twice on that drive where he literally had a guy on him, and he was able to, while that guy was still on him, kind of get a little bit of space around him, throw the ball. Credit to, I mean, the stats don't look good at all in this game for Baker. I think he only had about 120 yards, about 50% completion. But credit where credit's due. When push came to shove, they needed a drive to go and win or tie this game. He came through for them, as you said, Chapman. That amazing fourth down play. I mean, I watched him for 4 years and I never saw him make a play like that. That was genuinely incredible. And obviously to go and tie that game, it was disappointing. They had first and goal. At that point, you're thinking they should get a touchdown and take the lead at least. But credit to San Francisco's defense. They were able to force them into a field goal. Personally, I probably would have just gone for it at that point. From where they were to the goal line, if I was the offensive coordinator of the Bucs, I probably would have gone for it because you saw how well San Francisco were playing. They still had plenty of time to go down and only get a field goal. So I didn't really like that decision anyway, but that's the decision they made. And what happened, San Francisco had enough time, were able to go down and get the game-winning field goal. Jake Moody only just made it after missing previous 3 field goals in this game. So I think he was going to get cut if he missed that. So not many more high pressure kicks than that. So credit to him, obviously coming through.
Yeah, he missed it.
I agree. That play was ridiculous as well because it wasn't even like it wasn't like a 2-yard play or like he was holding him for a good 5 to 6 yards.
Yeah, he was running with him.
He was just holding him off and being surveying, see if he could find anything. And then for him to complete that as well, he made some superhuman plays in this game. I know obviously it doesn't show up in the stat sheet in terms of yards and touchdowns and everything, but I think there was a tendency to think, which I don't know if Ollie will agree with, but when he was playing for the Browns, when the top receivers were out and stuff, he might have folded a little bit. Whereas he did, but he's not with 2 guys out, with Mike Evans out, with the top 2 wide receivers out, he's still just slinging the ball around the yard. He seems to have found a great home in Tampa Bay, and great to see the career resurgence that he's having, and he's a top level starter in this league.
I mean,
Yeah.
funnily enough, it was actually the opposite for the
Oh, really?
Browns. It was actually, I mean, everyone remembers the whole Odell situation. Baker's for the Browns was a guy that's better when you didn't have one guy that he was focused on, and he could just, from his college days as well, someone that's watched him from a long time. Baker is suited to just drop back and pass to whoever's open. You don't want him to focus on, I've got this receiver. You want him to just play his game. But obviously, as you said, in Tampa, he's been able to take use of Mike Evans really, really well. Obviously, the other guys there as well. But I think that it doesn't surprise me to see him play well with kind of unknown guys or not bottom of the roster guys, because I've seen him do it a lot. It seems to bring the best out of him when he's in that situation. But as you said, Tom, I mean, I've made it known many a times that I was perfectly okay with the Browns moving on from him. Doesn't mean I don't like him as a person. I think he's an awesome dude. So to see him find a home, like you said, in Tampa and play well, it's awesome to see, and I'm really happy for him.
And on the 49ers side as well, Ricky Pearsall got his first touchdown in the NFL, which is kind of crazy considering where he was, to start the season. He had that unfortunate, he was shot.
Yeah, he was shot 12 weeks ago.
Shot in point blank range in the chest, and for him to come back and get his first touchdown, and also just a shout out to George Kittle as well. He's just putting up a highlight reel of touchdown catches this year. He had the one against the Patriots. He had this one in the back of the end zone, toe tap. So he's putting a kind of an all pro type year together as well. So yeah.
You took my nugget, Tom.
Great minds think alike.
So yeah, that's it. I mean, just as you said, Ollie, going back to it was definitely a day of missed field goals across the league. But Moody saved his job with that 44-yarder at the end. I'm wondering if that's going to become a liability later on for the 49ers.
I think so.
Seeing where the season goes.
And it's not just this year. I mean, last year, he missed the game winner against the Browns last year for them to win it. He just seems a bit shaky. He doesn't seem to be the most confident of kickers, which, as we all know, that's the biggest trait you really need in a kicker.
He also missed one in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I was about to say he missed one in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Right. Would have put him up. Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Yeah. Something to watch, guys. But CMC's back to many fantasy owners' delight. I'm sure you can get him on your fantasy game day app there. So that's exciting for.
Did everyone not get rid of him? Did people not get rid of him, thinking he might be out the whole year?
Oh no!
Obviously, I don't really know. I'm not too big of a fantasy guy.
Well, if you drafted him, you draft him probably in the top 3, so you're not cutting him until he comes back, and then you have to start him. And
I suppose, no one's in a trade for him, are they? So
no,
makes sense.
Yeah, he's a sunk cost, as they say.
Yeah.
Anywho, all right, moving on. We don't have Fletch necessarily for this one, but last night on Sunday Night Football, the Lions pulled by a squeaker, 26-23. Over the Texans. At one point, this game, I believe at halftime, was 23-3. Jared Goff and CJ Stroud combined for 7 interceptions this game, 5 of them thrown by Goff, which I think might be more. That number is more than the incompletions he's thrown in the last 2 games or whatever. So it was what I like to believe, and I'm going to steal this from Heed the Call, but it was a testable fortitude game, i.e., the Lions showed that they can win facing tons of different adversity, which has the markings of a team that is destined for greatness come playoff time, usually. On the other hand, this was yet another disappointing loss for the Texans, and it's beginning to feel like CJ Stroud is going to just have that sophomore season from hell where things just don't seem to be going his way in the way that the way that it was, obviously, with how brilliant he was last year. Not that he's bad, but it's just he's facing adversity, I think, for the first real time in the NFL. And I'm not sure his coach is helping him as much as I think we still we like everything they've been doing in Texas. What did you guys think about this game? Did you get to watch some highlights this morning?
Yeah, I catch the highlights, funny enough, just before we came on, so pretty fresh in my memory. I agree mostly with your thing about the Lions, but I do also think this was a game that the Texans just threw away. I mean, as you said, 23. I think it was 23-6 at the half.
3-3-6. That's right.
And they didn't score again in the rest of this game. They were in field goal range multiple times. As you said, the coaching, there was some very questionable calls. They didn't help themselves by continuously putting themselves behind the sticks with penalties. And that resulted in countless third and longs, which they weren't obviously able to convert. So, yes, I think the Lions, it's great to obviously show multiple ways to win a game. Winning a game when your quarterback throws 5 interceptions is incredibly rare. I don't think that happens many times. It gave me slight PTSD of someone that has seen my team force 4+ interceptions and still lose the game. So it is pretty crazy to see. But I'll be honest, the back of my mind, I am slightly worried about the Lions. Not as a team, and I said this before the season, but the only thing I think that will get in their way is the quarterback. And I just think when push comes to shove and they need to win a game, mano, QB up against QB, which they might get away with. They might not need to do that. I mean, you look at the NFC, the quarterbacks in that side of it. But I just think if it does come down to, like we've seen so many times in the last few years with, Josh Allen versus Mahomes or Burrow versus Mahomes, I just personally don't think Jared Goff is good enough. For me, it comes down to, is the rest of the team good enough to overcome that? Yes, at the minute they're proving that, but I just can't shake that worry in the back of my mind. And I think that kind of came to show in this game with the 5 picks. But then obviously you could argue that, the team was still good enough to win it. But it's just something that does worry me, concern slightly.
Right. Well, I mean, I get that concern, and I think that's a valid thing. But I also, looking at the body of work that he's put together over the last 2 years, and this team is not built necessarily for Goff to have to always put it on his back and win the game. I think this is one of the things I like about the Lions, is what a complete team they are, and it's something that I'm very jealous of. And I could say this, obviously, Tom, you could say the same thing about the Chiefs. And so I get what you're saying, but I've seen, look, Matthew Stafford in the year that they won, he was really good in the playoffs, but it's not like he was an all-world beater at all. And I think it's the same sort of formula. But it's a valid point, Ollie. I think you're right. And the one weakness is, the thing is, Goff can lose you games probably too, but they're still 8-1. And I'm like, he had a terrible game. They're able. You're right. And Texas played right into their hands. But I heard, something when I was watching those highlights today. I heard Dan Campbell was being interviewed. I think, it was like they played it after the half of the third quarter, and he basically was just like, "Hey, we're just gonna get it one score at a time. That's what we're gonna start doing." And the fact that he could get his team focused down 23-6 or whatever it was, to do that, it's pretty phenomenal. And I think it just, again, it says a lot about this team. And anyway, I get it, man. There's worries about, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, just to finally on that, I mean, I picked the Lions as my preseason pick for the NFC Championship game. This is not a scathing criticism. I'm a massive fan of Dan Campbell. I think that Ben, the offensive coordinator, what's his name? Ben Johnson. I think he's one of the best offensive coordinators in the NFL. As you said, Chapman, I think this roster is the most complete roster in the NFL. This isn't a scathing criticism. It's just in the back of my mind, and this game didn't do anything to help that. I just think, if it does come down to it, am I going to trust Jared Goff? We'll see.
Right. Well, we will see. Tom, you got anything on this one?
Yeah, I was going to say, on Ollie's point, I guess I do trust Goff. I don't always trust the defense though. I still think that there's problems with the Lions defense. I don't know. The back end has actually played pretty well this year. They can't Davis.
The pass rush.
Yeah, but the pass rush, if teams can, keep them at bay, then, and they could just throw it down the field, then I do think they are going to struggle against some of these other top teams. That being said, they are, as you've said, Chapman, they are such a complete team that they can win in a multitude of different ways. But that's one thing that worried me about them last year, and it still worries me about them this year, really. So yeah, but yeah, definitely a game that the Texans gave away as well. See this round, as you said, having that sophomore slump. And yeah, fair play to the Lions, 8-1. So yeah, carry on.
Uh, just to give the Texans a little love, those red uniforms looked cool.
They
I
did.
just wasn't the biggest fan of the helmets though. They up close they looked a little bit tacky, but that's me. I'm quite fussy with this stuff.
Imagine that. Well, let's go ahead and let's get the elephant in the room. Let's talk about Broncos Chiefs. The
Yep.
Chiefs win 16-14. Honestly, another pretty entertaining game, even though it wasn't very high scoring. And we all, and you know, if you're a football fan, you know by now the Chiefs are now 9-0 thanks to this game. They win. The Broncos have driven down the last 20 seconds. All they have to do is kick a 30 some 34-yard field goal. And of course, and it gets blocked by the Chiefs, and the Chiefs remain undefeated. Um, they are the Chiefs are the first team in NFL history to win 9 consecutive games, including playoffs, in which they trailed after halftime.
Yep.
I've heard it called dark magic, black magic, deal with the devil. What is happening with your team, Tom?
I love that. Yeah, I mean the emotions I went through in that last minute when because basically the majority of the game the Chiefs possessed the ball. Obviously the Broncos played really well in the first half. Um, a lot of credit has to go to Bo Nix. He really did play well, especially on those 2 touchdown drives. And that second one to Cortland Sutton, like it was not a good day for All Pro Trent McDuffie. He was getting diced up today, or not today, yesterday. But the Chiefs came back into it in the second half. Mahomes drew his only touchdown to Travis Kelce, which made Travis Kelce the all-time touchdown leader for the Chiefs, passing Tony Gonzalez. Just a little fact there.
Two tight ends.
Yes,
Not many teams will have that, I don't think.
both tight ends, exactly.
Tony G, love him.
But then, yeah, but then the Broncos towards the end of the game, it looked like they would just kind of run it out. It was very methodical. It was about a 6-minute drive. They drove down the field. I was like, oh, it's only inevitable they're going to kick this field goal. And then, the guy that with the nickname of John Cena, he was, no one could see him. Leo Chenal, jumping through the line to block it, just as he did in the Super Bowl as well, just showing how much of a big piece he is on this Chiefs defense. So yeah, it was incredible ending. Obviously, we kind of escaped with a win at home, and all credit to the Broncos for how they played us, especially after last week where they got bludgeoned by the Ravens. So they were really up for this game, and yeah, a lot of credit has to go to Bo Nix especially. But yeah, the Chiefs, as what Al Davis said, just win, baby. Like that's what they do. They haven't lost a game since Christmas last year. So yeah, long may it continue for me, obviously.
They might not lose a game until Christmas this year. I mean, if you look at the
Against the
schedule,
Steelers, yeah,
you look at the schedule remaining. I don't think it's too far fetched to say they could win all of those games. We might see the first 17-0 team. Tom, it does at this point feel like this is the team of destiny. It just seems it doesn't matter how they will win. Yeah, I mean, as you said, Tom, I will give some credit to Bo Nix as someone that was quite a big. Shall we say criticize?
Bo Nix detractor, maybe.
Yeah. Shall we say Bo Nix detractor? I thought he played well in this game. To be fair to him, obviously he is 28, so it is expected at this point. No, I'm kidding. He played well. I think the Broncos played really well. They deserve to win this game. But as I said, and as we all know, the NFL can be a cruel world. Sometimes some teams just know it. They know how to win, and that means that they can do crazy things like the Chiefs did. So that, as I said, team of destiny. It feels like.
Tom, I believe I was actually touched by your humility on the text thread this morning when you said something to the fact that actually no, you know what, it was Fletch, it wasn't you. It was somebody saying it was saying sometimes the best team doesn't always win, or sometimes your team just wins even when it doesn't deserve to. That was Fletch. So sorry, Tom.
Was it? Oh, there you go. That is very.
I think you could apply that to both. to both.
No, he was talking about the Lions, and I
Yeah.
somehow thought it was Tom actually showing a shred of humility for once in his.
I just have
But
one more. I just have one more stat on just to end my Chiefsdom. For the 30th game in a row, they held an opponent under 28 points, which is obviously a Chiefs record, and it's
Yeah,
up
can
there,
we
like
can
an
we start
NFL
giving that
record as
defense
well.
some credit, please? Because Patrick Mahomes gets all the credit all the time, and that
His
defense,
defense is elite, man.
that
It's the reason
defense
why we
does.
keep winning games. It's not
Yeah,
Patrick Mahomes. So.
yeah, the defense is so good. What's his name? The coordinator. I always get him in the Bengals.
Spagnolia.
Spagnolia. I always get him in the Bengals one. Amaruno mixed up. That defense is so good. It's a big part of why. Don't get me wrong. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Me and Tom can wax lyrical all day about Patrick Mahomes, as much to Chapman's chagrin, but that defense deserves so much respect. And I'm glad that you highlighted that.
And
Well,
the quote from Fletch as well, Chapman. Do you want to say it?
yes, thank you. I was going to jump in here. Yeah, so the quote actually was, "Champions find a way to win, even if they don't deserve to," and that is correct. And I would say definitely it would mark for this game. I also need to. Oh, you okay, Ollie?
I was just saying he said that about the Lions, did he?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh right, I was going to say that would apply to the
Because
Chiefs.
he felt like he didn't deserve to win last night. Anyway,
Yeah, no, I just meant the champions bit, but it's fine.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's protracting.
Love you, Fletch.
Moving along, I also need to make my nephew, I mentioned this before, my nephew is an Auburn grad, and I as a side, and my best friends growing up that I grew up with all went to Auburn as well. So I have a slight rooting at interest that I kind of watch them sometimes as an SEC fan too as well. And I watched more Bo Nix Auburn games than I'd like to admit.
Yeah.
And I just didn't buy his Oregon season. I thought it was like just a perfect thing, but he looks like he might be an okay NFL quarterback. So I have to take that back, especially after just getting beat down last week, coming back and having another game. And I think he's the guy who's not getting talked about as much with these other quarterbacks, May and obviously Daniels, and then we'll talk about Caleb Williams in just a second, Ollie.
Yeah.
Anyway, great win, Tom. It really feels like, again, you got a chance maybe to run the table on the season, which will be interesting. But I will say a lot comes with that, which means pressure.
Next week's gonna be tough though.
And I don't know if maybe just going ahead and dropping a game so you're not worrying about that come postseason might be the answer, because that perfect record. I mean,
they still got to play the Browns, so
we
they
still
won't
got
go
to play
perfect.
Buffalo next week, so that's going to be.
That is the game of the week. I cannot wait.
The Browns.
Yeah, my good buddy Ryan is a huge Bills fan, and I how I love. I'm a Josh Allen fan, so not that I'm not a Patrick Mahomes fan either. I think I get too much. I just don't like people being crowned before their careers are over. Anyway, anyway, one other little stat on this one, Tom. Your Kansas City Chiefs average margin of victory this season is only 6.4.
Different ways to win. Keep finding ways to win.
Yeah. All right. Now, the real game of the week, had it not been a Thursday night game, would have been this game, because it was awesome. And that was the Thursday night game against the Cincinnati Bengals, getting so close to beating the Baltimore Ravens. It was an awesome back and forth game. Joe Burrow, Lamar were just dealing. I could have watched it 10 more times, just to be honest with you. I wish we could have a game like that every week. The final score was 35-34. It was an awesome game. And we don't usually talk much about the Thursday night games here, but it was such a good game. I think we had to mention it. And it was sad seeing Cincinnati lose because, well, I know not for you, Ollie, but it sucks for those of us who would like to see Cincinnati maybe make a run so they can get into the playoffs because of just their talent, obviously, with Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase, who I will continue to bang the table for saying he is the best, for my money, wide receiver in the NFL, has a career game. But the Ravens, they are a movable force. Wait, no, It's an immovable object meets an unstoppable force. I messed it up. I'm going to pass on to you guys. Tell me about this game, guys. What did you guys take away?
Well, it was a game. Oh, wait, you go.
You go, Tom.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna say it was a game where the Bengals came out of the blocks quite fast. They had a 21-7 lead, at one point, and then the Ravens kind of clawed their way back in this game, and then took the lead, and then from then on it was just back and forth, back and forth. It was one of those games where both quarterbacks could do basically no wrong. Lamar Jackson had a great game. Obviously Joe Burrow had an excellent game as well. I mean, that run from Lamar where he almost went into the end, like that was ridiculous. I was like, how is like he got around like two different defenders, and
That's Lamar.
it's just what he does, but like he does it every week, and I still marvel at it. Like he's one of the, he's just one of those absolute fantastic spellbinding players that you want to watch every week and see what he can do
Yeah.
on an NFL field. So, but yeah, an absolute barnstormer of a game. And as you were saying about Jamar Chase, he had an absolute monster game, 262 yards, I believe. And he became the first player in NFL history to record multiple games of 250 plus receiving yards and 2 touchdowns in a career. And he's still only, what, 24, 20, 23, 24?
24, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's just insane. So yeah, great game there.
And I mean, we talked all about this about Lamar, guys, and if our listeners remember, a certain few people on the other Herd of the Lion show were against having Lamar in our 7v7 flag football team, but I'm going to just leave that there. No, Lamar was again fantastic. Both quarterbacks fantastic. I mean, Joe Burrow has now thrown for over 800 yards and I believe 8 touchdowns in 2 games against the Ravens this year, and lost both of them. Insane. I said it last week after the Ravens' great win. I have no idea how my Browns beat this team. They are incredible. The Bengals, they are a really good team that's just kind of got some unfortunate breaks this year. I don't think their record truly reflects how good they are. But I suppose the most important thing to take out of this game is whether or not you agree with going for 2 at the end. Obviously, Cincinnati get the touchdown to go down by 1. And instead of traditionally kicking the PAT and taking this game into overtime, they decided to go for 2. Obviously failed, and that's why they lost this game. I'll be interested to get both of your thoughts on this, but for me personally, I have no problem with it. I'm on team. I'm team 4. Go for on 4th down. I completely understand this decision. I probably would have made the same decision myself. You think about it, go to overtime, you get a 50% chance of getting the ball. And, if they get it, how they were playing, the Ravens were going to go score anyway. So I had no problem with them. I know, obviously, they got a lot of crap on social media. But for me personally, I had no problem with it. It's a tough way to lose a game, don't get me wrong. But where they stood, their records, they needed to win this game. At the end of the day, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I agree. I would, I'm more than happy with it. At the end of the day, you want to win the game. So yeah, you can kick it and get into overtime, but it could be just like, like last week with, Baker in overtime, the Chiefs get the ball, he looks up because he just knows the game's over. Like it felt like it would be that case if Lamar was going to get the ball first in overtime anyway. So yeah, I don't begrudge the call at all. Maybe, the way the actual play went, could have
Oh yeah, you can question the play call. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't, I don't see anything wrong with going for the win and going for 2.
I agree. Yeah, I don't have anything to say. I mean, we were all I think Todd Bowles last week got a lot of prep for not going for 2 against Kansas City to try to win, because you knew if you give the ball back to Mahomes that he's gonna make enough plays to win the game. So I agree there. Also, you have Joe Burrow. He's the best player on your team. Like let him try and
put the ball in his hands.
Yeah, exactly. So again, a really exciting game. A couple of things. Ravens running back Derrick Henry has scored a TD in every game this season. He's only the 5th player in the Super Bowl era since 1966 to start the season with a touchdown streak this long.
Yeah, I was wrong.
And also, MVP frontrunner Lamar Jackson's leading passer rating now stands at 123.2. I believe the best one ever was Aaron Rodgers, and I think
Yeah,
he was slightly above that.
I
So,
think it was
but
just about that actually. I think
What
when
is
it
he
won 22, 23.
throwing? What,
okay.
24 touchdowns to 2 picks? Like, it's insane.
I
Yeah.
can't say it. I've run out of words, man. He's just
Yeah.
it hurts a lot.
Yeah. Well, like Tom said, I love watching him. I like watching both these guys play, and so they're probably my two favorite quarterbacks in the league.
I do as well. It hurts,
Besides,
but it
yeah.
hurts, but yeah,
And Josh,
it's they're
I hate that all these
unbelievable.
quarterbacks are in the AFC. It really
Oh,
aggravates me.
you hate it, Chapman? You hate it? How do you think
Yeah.
I feel?
It's like the NFC is where all the old quarterbacks go
I
to just
know,
like finish their careers. Like,
and I will just say, if anyone wonders why the Browns sold their soul and traded for Deshaun Watson, this is why, because they have to deal with these two in their division.
yeah, but somehow the Steelers are also one of the best teams, and they just got
But we don't
boots
have
off their
Mike.
clothes.
We don't have Mike Tomlin,
All
and
right.
we didn't sell our
Quit
soul
making
to
it
the
all about the
devil
Browns. Don't
17
bore
years
me.
ago.
Don't bore me. All right. Look, as we know, Hurdle Line, we're a great team. We have our preview team, we've got our review team, we've got super producer Fletch, but we also have a shadow member. I mean, we all know this, and she's out there. She's in the background, she's there. And she's been on once, but she's the shadow member of this club, and that, as we know, is Miss Fletch. And her New Orleans Saints, after losing 7 games in a row, firing Coach Dennis Allen and replacing him with literally an interim coach that should probably have a movie based on him already, comes in to the Superdome and somehow squeaks out a win against the Atlanta Falcons, who could not get out of their own way yesterday and do anything right. So we have to say to our shadow member, congratulations, Miss Fletch. You did it. The Saints split the series with the Falcons, which all time again puts our all-time Falcon Saint series at an even stalemate.
That's
Anyway,
awesome. That's such a cool stat. I love that stat.
But just the other stat is that since the first game, the Saints have never been above, has never won it. But we'll see next year. We won't go too much in this game, mainly because it was an entertaining game from a lot of different angles. But really, the biggest takeaway was that the Saints came out just this was their Super Bowl, and I don't mean that just because it was the Falcons, but I think they're playing for careers and all sorts of stuff, and they do not lay down. And this is also a rivalry game. The Falcons, as they have done a couple times this year, just come out flat in the first half, like they're not ready, and then they totally turned it out. In the second half, they allowed no points. They shut down Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who had 109 yards and 2 touchdowns on 3 catches in the previous quarter. We marched down the field, and unfortunately, Younghoe Koo has one of, if not his worst game of his entire career, where he misses 3 field goals. One of them was blocked. And that was the difference in the game. The offensive line was not great. However, the star on the Falcon side was Bijan, and he looked amazing yesterday. Mostly one of the things was his yards after contact. I mean, he was getting hit and still getting 3 or 4 yards. But hats off to the Saints, even though their offense sort of cooled off in the second half. Their defense played really well and sealed the game with an Honey Badger getting an interception off of a really bad pass by Kirk Cousins. I don't think the Saints are going anywhere, and I don't say that just because of the Falcons fan, but just because of where they are. But it was just one of those get off the mat games, and I don't know what this team is, to be honest with you, just because of how many the holes they have. But Derek Carr did enough, and the defense was played up to par to win this game. And the Falcons have to go do some soul searching, because now they're on the road for the next couple of weeks playing NFC West opponents. So you're going to be rooting for them in Denver next week, Tom. But it was a weird game, and I don't know, just to tell you, but I don't know if you heard, but so Darren Rizzi is the interim coach here, and literally this guy is going to go down probably in the Hall of Fame of characters who have become interim coaches. He was the special teams coach. I don't know if you heard this, but he clogged his toilet in the coach's bathroom before the game, and he was like, "Oh, this is an omen. This game's gonna stink, like, or he's gonna have a bad day." which he admitted in his press conference after the game, which I found to be just completely
I
bizarre.
was going to say intentionally or accidentally.
He was being very he's like he was being very self-deprecating in that he's like, I went into the coach, like, there's a bathroom in and he has the head coach office now, which he's like, I'm never in there, and he went in the bathroom and he used it and it got clogged, and he was like making a joke of like, oh, I thought my day was gonna go. But I say this only because after the win, the players were all over him, and I think they really responded to this dude. And he
Yeah.
was actually very effusive to compliment Dennis Allen too. Even though I think the move was to fire Dennis Allen was justified, but I think
Oh yes.
um, anyway, so it was just interesting. But anyway, Google that Rizzy, just because he seems like a football coach's football coach,
I
Yeah.
if
was
you know
going
what
to
I
say
mean.
Chapman as well. Didn't he do? I saw something else in a press conference as well that he had some sort of trap thing in his, like he had some underlying arm injury or something, and then he got like shoved. So he literally got like a stinger on the sideline after the win
Yeah.
because someone like shoved him like wrong or something. No, he was hilarious though. Yeah, what a character.
And you're
Yeah.
right. You're right, Chapman. It was cool to see. I saw this game end obviously with the interception, and to see I think every single Saints player, the first thing clearly on their mind as soon as that whistle went was to run over to him and to congratulate him and celebrate with him. So he's obviously a popular character amongst the locker room, and he'll probably never have to buy a beer again in New Orleans.
Well, I mean, it's pretty cheap there, just to be honest with you. So maybe, but
Well,
anyway,
still not cheaper than free.
yeah, that's fair. Well, again, congratulations, Mrs. Fletch. That one's for you. All right, moving along. The Bills dismantle the Colts 30-20. Josh Allen doesn't have his best game, but does just enough. Joe Flacco is terrible again. Don't have a lot to say about this because the big game is next week. Bills Chiefs or no, they don't play in Orchard Park, do they? Wherever it
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
they
It's
play in
all
Yeah,
Orchard
yeah,
Park.
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah. It's
They are building a new stadium, though, aren't they?
yeah, that's right. Anyway, not a ton to talk about with this one, but did you guys have anything on this one?
I was
Well, I
just going
mean,
to say Jonathan Taylor. Even in the Colts losing,
That's a good
I
point.
think he went either three, four, or five on the Colts all-time rushing list as well. So, despite them losing, he was still a valuable asset. And yeah, Joe Flacco obviously wasn't very good in this game. And Shane Steichen was asked after the game if they were going to go back to Richardson or not, and he said, um as long as I say that Joe's playing, Joe's going to be the starter. So yeah, as far as we know for the foreseeable future, he's going to be starting for the Colts.
and this was the second game that Amari Cooper's missed for the Bills. Obviously, after trading a third round pick for him. So obviously, keep an eye on that because it does seem to be some kind of little of a lingering issue, and obviously that could be a loss to them. But obviously, it didn't prove to be anything this week. Josh Allen continuing to be Josh Allen. I think he is now second all time in rushing touchdowns for the Bills. He tied OJ Simpson. And is now only behind. I cannot remember his name. Chapman, you
Thurman
might remember, but
Thomas.
is that it?
Thurman Thomas.
And
Yeah.
he's only five behind. So that's probably with the way that Josh Allen plays football, he'll probably break that this year. One player I do just want to single out for the Colts, Tommy. You mentioned Jonathan Taylor. I think Alex Pierce is having a really sneaky good year. Someone that I quite liked coming out of the draft, and is really really pleased to see him kind of be used, as he can be. And the last few weeks, especially, I think he's been brilliant. So, but obviously in a loss, so it doesn't matter too much.
Well, I mean, here's the thing I would say: the AFC South and the NFC South are like bizarro versions of each other. And the thing that's funny about this one is like the Colts are still in the mix and could still win this division, but I just have no faith in that, even with the team they have.
Yeah, yeah.
Even with the Texans sort of slumping at this point, um, it's just interesting that this was sort of a needed game, and Flacco goes out and throws 3 interceptions, though Josh Allen also had 2 of his own. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. I don't believe the Colts. I don't think any of those teams are gonna really challenge the Texans. But also this division's always really wacky, and I think somebody different wins it every year. So
And
Who
also,
knows?
there's a lot of teams in the AFC right now kind of scuffled around that 4-6, 5-5 mark. So you're still in play at 4-6 for the wild card, but with Joe Flacco playing the way he's playing, and I don't, yeah, I tend to agree with you.
Yeah. I'm gonna throw out three scores of three different games, and then you guys pick which one you want to talk about. I already know which one you're gonna want to talk about, but I'm gonna throw them out. The New England Patriots defeat the Chicago Bears 19-3.
No,
The
let's not talk
Tennessee,
about that one. No.
the Tennessee Titans, the Los Angeles Chargers defeat the Tennessee Titans 27-17. The Minnesota Vikings defeat the hapless and very ugly jerseyed Jacksonville Jaguars 12-7. Which of those three games would you guys like to talk about?
Go on then. We'll talk about Caleb Williams and the Patriots.
Nah, let's just do that.
We'll do it.
Somewhere Carl's little heart
Yeah,
just got a little
his
bigger.
little heart there. He went, oh yes, this is it. No, I mean, to be honest, what more can you say? I mean, the Patriots side, they deserve credit for this game. A team that has every reason to, not play to win, played to win this game and did just that. But you can't watch this game as me, obviously, and not think about the performance of Caleb Williams and how he's been, in my opinion, just completely mishandled. 9 sacks again yesterday. Sorry, I'm pretty sure he's leading the NFL now in sacks because Deshaun Watson is no longer playing. I mean, as I said last week, yes, you've obviously got to put some blame on him. In the end of the day, the quarterback has to perform, but I don't think they're doing anything to help him. And if I'm totally honest, the sooner they get rid of this coaching staff, the better, because you can't leave it for too long with these young quarterbacks, especially with nowadays. It's so easy. We look at Bryce Young, we look at other guys in the last few. It's so easy for these guys to get broken and kind of lose all of their confidence, and you don't want that to happen. So for me personally, if I was a Bears fan, I just want this coaching staff sacked as quickly as I possibly could. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you on it. I mean, we said about it in the off season that we didn't think that Eberflus was the man to lead the Bears forward. Anyway, obviously they gave him, when Williams got drafted, it seemed like they were going to go with him as the head coach, and it's kind of been to their detriment. It seems like ever since that play on the Hail Mary, like they just have not been the same team at all. There's moments in seasons where things start to go downhill, and it seems like that's what's happening with the Bears. But yeah, all credit to the Patriots as well for winning the game. But yeah, just and I mean, as much as you can, Caleb Williams, there's only so much he can do when every single time the offensive line is just collapsing in front of him.
Yeah, no one's open.
No one's open. He can't do everything. He still made some plays in this game, but it's just when you're under pressure the whole time, like it's going to be tough to succeed.
Yeah, and I think the vibes in Chicago aren't great too, and I think Caleb's maybe getting a little too much flack for that because of just him being sort of a Gen Z different kind of player that we aren't used to seeing in the NFL. And I'll just, again, just being the guy who's watched this a lot, like there's a lot of really good quarterbacks who've come into the league and had really crappy freshman years. It's not everybody just comes in as CJ Stroud or some of these other guys like that we've seen. So I would just caution. I think it's more of our evaluation, or the media's more evaluation of what the Chicago Bears were putting around Caleb was probably a little faulty. And then also just forgetting that the coaching staff wasn't that good to begin with. And we're seeing that now with Eberflus. So
it would have helped, though. It would have helped if with the 8th pick that they'd actually picked an offensive lineman.
Oh, thank you.
Of Rome Odunze.
Bro, I said it at the time, man. Only Fashani was there. Like, I just don't understand it. But each to their own, I suppose.
Anyway, just a quick little thing. The Chargers, just quickly on that, the Titans actually did put up a good fight, even though they're just terrible against the Chargers. But Justin Herbert is really coming into form, looking really good. And as somebody who would have loved to have seen Harbaugh on the sidelines in Atlanta, I mean, it's pretty amazing what this defense is doing. Also, I don't believe they've allowed over 20 points a game this season. And Dude, there's just something about him as a coach that just gets the most out of players. And after, obviously Staley leaving last year and just that defense underperforming, they've, yeah, they've really been able to do it. So I'm excited. I don't know how good they can be. I'm not really sold that they're like, you know, in the upper echelon of the AFC or in the AFC, but like still a really interesting team. They're in your division, obviously, Tom, and like so, I don't think they're at all a pushover, and they seem to just be getting better week on week.
Yeah, yeah, and even that play though, there was that play that was kind of the momentum, killer for the Titans just before the half, where it looks like Justin Herbert fumbles the ball.
Almost football, yeah.
They then pick it up, run it in for a supposed touchdown to tie it up at 13 apiece. Then they went back to the replays and decided that the arm was going forward, so then it'd be an incomplete pass instead. And then that kind of killed any sort of momentum that the Titans had, and then the Chargers just kind of ran away with it in the end. But yeah, no, they are playing like good football at the moment. So excited to play them later in the season.
Yeah, it could be a good game. All right, I'm going to hit these last few games and we can jet through them. So the New York Jets get pummeled by the Arizona Cardinals, 31-6. It's the final. I don't know how many of these we're going to have, but the Kyler Murray coming out game once again. Also, the Philadelphia Eagles basically finally put the Dallas Cowboys out of the season's injury, or out of their misery. 34-6 in the blinding sun at Dallas Stadium. And then finally, we had one game internationally that started off the day today or yesterday. The New York Giants lose to the Carolina Panthers. A bout of 2-7 teams, 20-17. A game that goes into overtime. And the Giants fumble the ball away and allow the Panthers to kick a field goal to win the game. And Bryce Young has a decent game, as I said. Yeah. But there wasn't much to get out of that one. Are we going to talk Jets Cardinals or are we going to talk Eagles Cowboys?
I think Jets Cardinals, because just the way that Kyler Murray played in this game, like I know you can say about anything about the Jets and how they're not a good team right now, but Kyler Murray is in charge of that offense, and he's got it firing on all cylinders. I think they won 4 in a row now. And Jonathan Gannon is an underrated coach in this league. He's getting that team playing really well. James Conner, continues to be that power back who's just gonna run into your face. And yeah, Kyler Murray, he threw 1 touchdown, rushed for 2, was it? And I think he only had 2 or 3 incompletions in this
2
game.
incompletions.
So yeah, like he had a monster game, and on the other side, the Jets are just the kings of dysfunction. I mean, even Devontae Adams, who he's got some of the surest hands in the league, like you would think, like a touchdown just falls
drops a
through his
touchdown.
hands.
Yeah,
Like what is that? That's just the Jets. That's just I don't even think it like. I mean, yeah, you could blame Devontae, but it's like that's just the Jets section. It's just yeah.
I mean, is Aaron Rodgers washed? I think it's a question worth asking. I don't think it's entirely. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Jets are the Jets. There's a ton of dysfunction around him, but at the end of the day, he's got Garrett Wilson out there. He's got Devontae Adams out there. He's got Breece Hall out there, and he's still able. He's not just not performed from a winning standpoint. He's not performed from a statistical standpoint at all either. I think only was 150 yards in this game, no touchdowns. As you said, obviously Devontae Adams, I think he only had 30 yards after a disappointing, obviously, debut the week before. Jets are the Jets, nail in the coffin for them, really. But the Cardinals, as you said, I know some people are surprised by this, but I don't think any of us are. We've all made it from the start of the season, and even in the off season, made it clear how fans we all are of Kyler Murray. So for us three, it's not really a surprise, but maybe for people that wrote him off after the injury and the whole contract, drama that went down with playing Call of Duty and all of that, he got written off a little bit. But yeah, really, really good to see him back at his best, playing really well. And as I said earlier, and I still say it, I think this Cardinals team is a frisky team.
Well, I mean, they're leading the NFC West right now, which is insane. So, um, no, it's crazy that Kyler has his best game of the season the week that the new Call of Duty actually comes out, which is wild.
I know
But
that never usually happens.
the thing I don't know if Rodgers washed, but I will say we knew this from last year too, which was the thing that was part of what I don't know if you blame it on the injury, but it's the offensive line, man. But
Yeah.
also but the other thing that was keeping the Jets in games last year when they won 7 games, even with Wilson, was the defense, and the defense has gotten worse. I think maybe we as a head coach, Saleh had some questionable. I don't know. It's always I like criticizing head coach, but then again, I'm like I could never. I'm not smart enough to do that job. And so it's very easy to throw. But he one thing you could say is he could call a good defense typically. And, in this defense under Ulbrich has definitely taken some steps back. So. And on the other hand, the Arizona defense was performed really well. I think they had 4 sacks yesterday. I mean,
So that's been Gannon, man, got them balling, and this is probably I'm not on paper probably the worst in terms of like you looked at before the season, looked at all the rosters, all the depth charts. You'd have probably said this Cardinals defense was going to be one of the worst. There's not many guys on here that are that well known. Not that matters, but you know what I mean. So all credit to Gannon, all credit to this coaching staff,
and shout out to Buda Baker having an all-pro type season.
What a player, man.
Well, he's it looked like he was potentially going to leave the Cardinals in the off season, but he's the heart and soul of that defense, and he's proven it every week.
Yeah, 9 tackles, a sack in this game. I think 3 tackles for loss in this game. Yeah, he was everywhere, man.
Man, what I would love to have a player like that on the Falcons. And just quickly on that the Philly Dallas game, Philly, it's more like we don't need to talk about Dallas. I mean, they get enough. I'll just say really quickly about Philadelphia. They've won 5 straight now. I don't know if they're going to be able to hold it together completely for the game, but they're leading the NFC East. Washington's a game behind. It'll be very exciting because I think most of those NFC matchups are going to come in the second half of the season.
Back-to-back games against the Commanders.
Yeah,
actually, I think so.
Yeah, back-to-back, or it's not back-to-back, but it's one. It's 3 game, 2 games
in
next
between.
week, and then maybe not the week after that, or something like that.
So it at least will be interesting to see what Washington and how Philly and Washington play with the Giants and Dallas. Just definitely now
down and out.
Well, I mean, and the thing is, this leads us into the end question for our episode this week. And as watching my team, I was really angry. I'm not angry. I was disappointed with my team last night. I'm usually angry when we lose sometimes, but I was just disappointed because it was a game where I'm like, hey, if we're good, we should just go and beat the Saints team, and we didn't. And then also, there's a lot of teams now. This week was if we're going to do anything, we had to win this week. And people like the Jets, the Dallas, the Cowboys, and other teams lost. So this leads me to my long-rounded question. I am gonna put it one way, Ali. When your team loses and you need to cheer yourself up, what is your comfort food? What is the food? Now, Tom doesn't have this problem, so I guess we just have to leave it open to what he feels good. But I mean, he did lose 1 Super Bowl a few years ago.
He did.
So maybe
quite badly,
if he can remember. But it was the COVID year. Come on, it's all asterisks. Anyway,
no offensive line.
Hey, what is first time we made the playoffs in 20 years?
all right. Let's. It's always got to go back to the Browns, guys. It's like we're herding cats with you two. Okay, what is your comfort food? What is your NFL comfort food? You can take it any way you want. I gave you the question early, so Tom, you go first this time.
Oh, that's a good question. I would say probably if the Chiefs lose, I'm definitely cracking open the ice cream. The ice cream tub is coming out. Just like after a breakup or something like that. It's sort of
and you throw in the rom-coms on Netflix too.
Exactly.
Is that what's happening?
Straight out of a rom-com, exactly. And then obviously if they're winning, it's gonna be pizza and wings.
So a lot of pizza and wings this year, then, Tom.
Yeah.
So I think I'm the complete opposite to Tom. He goes down the path of ice cream to try and cheer himself up. I go down the path of coffee and cigarettes. Is my comfort food after a loss. I do not condone smoking. I do not condone drinking too much caffeine. But if you are a Browns fan, it helps.
God, I'm glad you don't. Yeah, well, lot to parse through there, Ollie. Tom, I'm the same way. So when the Falcons lose, my comfort food in all things is pizza. Like I love pizza. I have a tattoo of pizza on my, well, it's a Ninja Turtle thinking about pizza, but so pizza is like when it's good times, when it's bad times, pizza is just there for you. But like when things win, so Mrs. Maddox makes some of the best chicken wings. And when we know it's a big game, when things are happening, chicken, like her homemade chicken wings are phenomenal. So,
When are we getting a taste?
well, you guys got to come to London. I've invited you.
We have to come. We have to come, and we will come before the end of the season. Chapman, me and Tom will come and watch some games with you. But I didn't know we were doing a winning one as well. Obviously,
well, I'm
not too used to the winning feeling. But when I do win, I just replace the coffee with champagne, and the cigarettes with something a little bit stronger as well.
Whoa.
I wonder what that is.
That's good. We all get it there. Nice. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. Well, that's all for week 10, guys. I think, unless you have any parting favors, any shots, any tidbits, nothing. Please remember to support our friends at Fantasy Game Day app. Sorry, Fantasy Game Day app. Use the code HURDLE, HRDLE. HRDLE. It's no U, hurdle without the U. Everyone's looking at me like I'm an insane person because I'm not getting this ad read right. No, seriously, Fantasy Game Day app, codename Hurdle. Please go have and use responsibly, but it would definitely help us to support the team. Also, please follow us, rate us, only 5 stars, retweet us. All the links and everything are down in the info box. The preview guys will have their episode coming out on Friday. Also, check out the college. If you like college football, check out the episode on, I believe they launch on Thursdays, right? And it'll be very interesting to see where the top 10 goes. I think Georgia will probably be out of the top 10 for this week, but then they play Tennessee, number 7. And what are you going to do if they go in and they have that game is at home? Thank you. Finally, we have a ranked game.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. Ohio State, Indiana this weekend, I believe.
No, next weekend.
Weekend.
Northwestern this weekend. Indiana are on their bye.
Northwestern.
Northwestern. We're not worrying too much about it. I think Northwestern's the only reason that Michigan are going to have a bowl game this year because they've still got them left on their schedule. But
my girlfriend in college went to Northwestern.
Nice. I've heard it's a very academic university.
Very nice. So it is very smart. We met on an internship. She was very smart, and she is a happily married woman who's a big TV exec now. But anyway, that doesn't matter.
Shout out to her.
Shout out to her.
But she will be getting beat this weekend.
Yeah.
In NFL, in college football. Let me just phrase that.
I think everybody got that.
Yeah. Okay.
We don't have to be that sensitive, everybody.
Okay.
Yes. Northwestern's beautiful campus. If you can ever make it up to Chicago before the winter, don't go during the winter, but go before the fall. It's a beautiful time to go. All right, guys. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Ollie. As always, thanks to super producer Fletch. Thanks to Mrs. Fletch for supporting super producer Fletch. And thank you guys for joining us once again on Hurdle the Line. We'll see you next week. And hurdle that missed field goal.
Love it.